This is a video teleconference meeting for the Franklin County Fiscal Court. This meeting is regarding the budget, and we welcome everybody. We call this meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is an announcement that I need to make because there is evidently a scam alert that is going on in Franklin County, and the Franklin County Sheriff's Office has received several complaints from citizens and businesses who received calls saying that there was a warrant for their arrest for numerous reasons. Scammers will attempt to scare victims into giving them money during the call. Individuals calling from are pretending to be our Sheriff's Office employees. We have been alerted that some of these callers may be mentioning me by name, Judge Wells. The caller will tell you that they are from the Warrant and Citation Division. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office does not call you to tell you that they have a warrant for you. The Sheriff's Office does not have a Warrant and Citation Division. I am not a trial judge and cannot issue a warrant for anyone's arrest. So I warn you, please never give out personal information over the phone, including addresses, full names, driver's license numbers, and social security information. The Franklin County Sheriff's Office will never call you to collect a payment. I will never call you as a county judge executive is not involved in adjudicating criminal or civil legal proceedings. If you have any questions or concerns, don't hesitate to call the Franklin County Sheriff's Office at 502-875-8740. And please, once again, do not give out any of your personal information on the phone. You will not be called by the Sheriff's Office or my office with anything to do with a warrant. So with that being said, everybody, please be safe. Now we move to the
message right now.
Are you getting the same?
No, I said I better send my brother Chuck a message right now.
Okay, all right.
Very cool.
This work session is to review the fiscal year 22-23 budgets. The first person on the agenda is the coroner. I think I did. There he is. Coroner Harrod. Well, good to see you. Glad you're here. And do you want to present, review your budget?
Yes, Judge, I appreciate it. Thank to the members of the court. Thank you for the time. Susan, do we have the numbers up there?
Yes, I'll share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Very well. Thank you, Susan. Basically, if we go line by line by line here, we have of course, the coroner salary there that was discussed last meeting. The next line, we have the 3 deputies presented with plus 2%. We have the I would like to make a motion to change the coroner secretary to a clerk position. I don't typically like that secretary word. If we could change that to deputy clerk or something like that, but that also reflects a 2% as well.
Okay.
The other major difference that we're presenting in this worksheet is we have increased fuel and maintenance by about $3,000 based on everything's basically gone up as far as the cost of fuel. Maintenance has gone up. Cost of products such as tires and things that we need to look at on an annual basis. Otherwise, everything else is basically a continuation. Again, we don't have any information on what the comp study showed. None of these figures reflect any of that. We've just kind of been waiting on some direction from the court on where to go with that. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them, please.
The corner office equipment, am I reading that right? It's went from 7,000 to 64,000?
Oh, Judge, that's the continuation of the vehicle. We've had the vehicle that was approved last budget, if I may address that.
Okay,
When we went to order the vehicle, they're telling us they're behind on that. Unfortunately, we cannot get that vehicle probably till July or August of this year. So we're presenting that as a continuation in order to get that vehicle.
okay. Are there any questions for our coroner? Mr. Harrod, for more?
Will, on your deputy salaries, when you went to two, you did away with one and went to two, and now you want to get the one back, is that right?
No, sir.
Go three now?
We've always been budgeted for three. And they've been budgeted at $15,000 apiece. Some
Well,
of them that are
When
there,
you budgeted them for 15, they were budgeted at about 8, and when you went to 2, you jumped them up, you split that other one and took them to 15, isn't that right?
I don't think that's correct. No. I think that we went back and did 3 at 15,000 apiece. Isn't that
Okay,
correct, Susan?
Oh, that's what we did too.
At the last court, we did set the term salaries. There is one deputy who is at a higher rate, and that was approved to continue based on the court action. And then another deputy the two other deputy positions would be at 15. And the way the term salary issue will work is that those will be the rates in effect basically January 1. With the individual that's already employed in that position at the higher rate will still get the county raise, and the other two deputies might get a bump or but basically they get whatever the county raise is. And again, the deputy salaries or term salaries are subject to change based on they can be changed midterm as opposed to some of the other positions that cannot be.
okay, just trying to get my mind straight on that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions for our coroner in his budget? Don't see any questions. Will, thank
So
you for coming on.
Scotty, Squire Tracy has a question.
Hey, I'm sorry, I don't see him on our Zoom. Okay, go ahead, Squire Tracy.
Will, thanks for being with us today. Quick question. If I'm reading this correctly, it shows that you're taking a decrease in regards to your deputy coroner salaries. You're going from 53.1 to 49, and that's with a 2% increase in that 49. Is that accurate?
That's not accurate. Susan and I had a conversation about that earlier. We talked about taking that item back to the 51.3. I think that's the 51.3, then plus the 2. I think there was some confusion on that in the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
The document that went out in the packet was not correct. I had not had contact with the coroner prior to that document publication. So
Susan, my sheet says 54,162. Is that correct?
that
Yes.
is the coroner's request, and that would be the updated budget amount for the line item. Yes.
Okay.
So Susan, is there any my sheet shows it reflects 49,000.
That's
Are there any
correct.
other?
I just received the coroner's request just before the
Okay.
meeting.
Okay. Are there any other line items that
Well,
won't match up or anything?
Yes,
And
the
if so, can you
fuel and
just,
maintenance, the fuel
Okay.
and maintenance should go to 12,000 instead of 9.
okay,
Yes. So if you want to use your packet document as the master, make those 2 changes, and they'll be reflected on our next version. And we'll have those throughout the meeting. So yes, you continue to use that as your guiding.
thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
All right, any other questions? All right, Squire Tracy, thanks for bringing that up, making sure that was clarified. We have one sheet that says one thing and another sheet, so
We just brought this in.
yeah, I think we got it. All right, if there are no other questions, Will, thank you. Thank you to
Thank
your
you
staff.
all.
Make sure that, send our, big thanks to your staff and the work that they do.
Thank you so much for the time today.
Okay. The next, item is the county attorneys, the county attorney on. I haven't seen him.
Good afternoon, Court.
Okay,
Yes,
county attorney. Yes, sir.
Sitting here just silently on standby, waiting to get called. So good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay, a couple things I'd like to note about, and if you'll look under section 5005, that's the county attorney's office staff, maintenance, et cetera, budget. I noticed after I talked to Madam Treasurer that specifically under item 2, the salaries and wages did not correspond with the increases that the court had made earlier in 2022. So that 135 is not technically correct. So please don't get hooked up on that factor. The only other thing, not counting the court raises for constitutional officers that you all had discussed, is the salary implementation. I know that the court has a couple of things before it right now. I'd taken the average of our colleagues across the region and what they get paid for the same salary. I averaged that out, less the discrepancy that they indicated that my salary or my staff's salary was behind on, and increased the overall percentage to do two things. Number one, to increase their salary to get that in a more appropriate way. And number two, I don't know if y'all have heard this or not, but I'm going to have a successor of some kind, him or her, in about a couple months. And I wanted to put in there an option if the next county attorney was of the need, and frankly, I think it's a valuable need, to increase and another assistant county attorney to go along with their PAC budget to deal with fiscal court matters as well. So that's why that's increased accordingly to $150,000. Last, one other item is you'll look on the office supplies and stuff. I'd taken that $1,000 down. I'd ask the court to consider increasing that to another $1,000 for the same reason. We've had a pretty good system here that we've all been comfortable with, but we do have some outdated supplies, equipments, computers, et cetera. And I anticipate, and I put in my document to the treasurer, some increases that may be needed to get into the 21st century, if not the 20th century. I would anticipate some additional computer software, et cetera, that might be needed. So I'd ask that to be increased back to $10,000 appropriately.
Okay. Questions?
That's it.
Counselor Sparks,
Go ahead.
you
Yes,
probably can't see me. I'm raising my hand.
Hey, ma'am.
Good afternoon. In line item 015005-185, where you indicated other salaries and wages.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you just restate, I just want to make sure I understood, you are advocating for another assistant county attorney. You said to work through fiscal court matters. Did I, and I may have heard that wrong.
No, you didn't. I think it was heard correctly, but not to the extent that I said that. My point was that after this term, you will have another assistant or another county attorney in office. I wanted to do two things. Number one, I want to get my current salary for my staff into an appropriate level consistent with their neighbors across the region. So I averaged out what they were behind based on their study. In addition, I added more money on top of it because I can tell you two things that will be critical for somebody coming into this office who perhaps may have never done it, be it she or he. they're going to have a really rough time. And the reason why is because it's relatively new. So I also put some monies in there in addition to our PAC money that we get, which is the assistance for the county attorney staff, that is assistant county attorneys. If they wanted to hire or bring in somebody part or full-time to deal with things like open records, for example, who may have to deal with ongoing fiscal court matters. I have found it, frankly, extremely problematic to deal with those matters in the last couple of periods of time. And I want to give the best opportunity for he or she who is behind me to have the best success that they can possibly have in their term coming up in January. So if they wanted to, was my point, there's some matters that I'm asking to do so that you don't have to come back. And the court knows I hate to do this. We've never done it. I don't want to come back or somebody else come back if I can avoid it to increase or do a budget supplement if we can avoid it on the front end. I don't think I've ever had to do it. And I hope he or she behind me likewise never has to do it. And that means you have to prepare ahead of time. So what I meant was if they chose to, I would like that available.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sparks, Councilor Sparks, you said you did kind of an average. You went back and looked at the average around from the market. What percentage did you end up coming up with that your staff was down, that you're giving them a?
According to things, it's where's my sheet? 4.0 odd, 4.04, 4%.
Okay.
And that was all.
Is that in addition to the 2%, which would make 6%?
Oh, no, they need to get 8%. The budget currently with the funding we have and for the inflation that we're dealing, we've just given them a lot of money potentially for the hauler people. If I had my way, we'd give everybody 8% period, but that's up to the court to do.
So you're giving your staff an 8% raise for
No,
salary adjustment?
I'm looking at 4% plus the amount that you made, and then whatever else that I could possibly justify to keep it within the budgetary balance.
Okay. All right.
They need it. I could justify 8%, or I could justify it. I don't know. They need 8% if I had my way. That would be what I would propose, because that's what the state's also getting. And unlike a lot of constitutional offices, I have 2 out of the grouping that are all paid by the state, and they just got 5%, or they got 8%. So I have some internal matters to deal with in that fashion.
Squire Muller?
Thank you, Judge. Hey, Mr. Sparks, quick question. Could you refresh my memory? Line item 01-5005-398, contracted service. What does that entail, please?
It's been, I guess, a catch-all. We haven't used it, and I've really been proud of my term that I've not had to use that. It's been available money that's been used for example, closings. It's been available money that's been due for out of office work, titles, liens, things like that. I've never used it to my knowledge, or nothing contracted wise. We haven't hired any lawyers to come in other than what was been provided through insurance, et cetera. But we've had that line forever, keep it there. It was longer at one point, but we used a bit of it for the codification process. I would not mess with it, because if you mess with that and you need it, I mean, lawyers sort of like being a general practitioner kind of deal. But if you need to go to the neurologist, et cetera, believe me, you need to have some money there to go to the neurologist. So I've left it the same way.
Okay, thank you.
But if that's also, I'd note this different. I'd also take the same line 332. We've got the codification grant there. That's what's to maintain that codification. That was slid in through here for the extremely important work that they did to get all of our bills and stuff on pass. If you haven't done that, you ought to, there's some great stuff in there for people who use it. It's pretty handy deal.
Squire
So that's
Tracy?
my budget.
Okay, wait a minute, Squire Tracy's got questions. Rick?
Susan, quick question. Can you tell me what line item 185, what it should actually reflect? I think the county attorney referenced 135. Mine says 132.5. Just trying to make sure it's correct.
That's the one I said. Well, I got that. This was all based on the original numbers from the beginning of 2020. And it didn't include the additionals that were made in January. I think it should be 1.3, and I'll tell you right now. Susan, I told you I'd have.
Yeah, Squire Tracy, the 132.5 represents the initial budget. It does not reflect any budget transfers that will be required to cover the mid-year 5%. I know we made some of those earlier in the spring, but there were a few lines that were missed. So that particular one does not reflect the mid-year 5%. So that's what the county attorney is saying, is that initial budget is not in line with the current salaries.
Okay,
Current
thank you.
salary. Yeah.
If it would have been correct, that is retroactive to the beginning, it's added another, should be 135, 300, 400, something like that. But you can't,
That's
I
right.
can't. That's right.
Yeah.
First of the month or first of the year.
Right. That's correct.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing no other questions? No questions? Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Sparks.
Oh, I don't get to do this next year. So let me just tell y'all, it's been fun. I appreciate it. Thanks for all of the services and thanks for looking out for my office while I've been here. Thanks again.
All right. Next, planning and zoning. Jeremy Colston, are you on? I'm sorry. I'm looking at maintenance assistant. Jeremy Colston, I hope you're on to hear Robert. Robert, I'm sorry, Robert. I apologize. Planning and zoning.
Susan, or someone put the proposal on the screen, please? Thank you. So line item 106, that encompasses me, the administrative assistant, the planning supervisor, and the planner. So that change reflects the proposed COLA. And then also you see a note on the compensation plan. Planning and zoning inspectors, that includes the two building inspectors and the two electrical inspectors. Once again, that is adjusted according to the COLA and the compensation plan. The biggest thing you'll see here is on 309, comprehensive plan update, fiscal year 2022. For this coming budget, we will need $214,250 to accommodate the agreements that we have with McBride, Dale, Clarion. Engineering services remains the same at 35. Stormwater engineer did go up 2% for additional services that are being required as part of the permit. Let's see, the membership for planning and zoning 551, that goes up $500 proposal to accommodate the new building inspector and the part-time planner. Additionally, in line item 569, that was increased by $1,000 for registration, conferences, and trainings. We decreased the office equipment by $2,800, and there is no new vehicle proposed at this time. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. At this point, I know we've had some expenditures, I think at our last court meeting, in regard to the comprehensive plan update. And I don't know who may be better suited to tell us what the overall portion of the county's share for the comprehensive plan as well as the zoning ordinance updates. Just so we have just so I have a target number in my mind for the entire process. Because I know we had some expenditures in the last budget meeting. There were some bills in there, the last court meeting.
So are you referring to what we paid out so far?
that included with what it's going to cost all in the round?
Total
Susan-
cost, Robert.
I'm sorry.
Total cost. She's asking for total cost and what's been paid.
Oh, the total cost.
I don't speak P and Z, I don't think. Must be.
Bear with me, I'm pulling up their last invoice. All right, so.
Robert, are you addressing that?
You're welcome to.
Well, and what we spent to date is $14,000, it looks like. And looks like we've got an outstanding bill for another 5 on the books. So there's 19,000 so far. Of course, we only budgeted 25 in this current fiscal year. So depending on, how much we get in place before June 30th as to how much we still have to carry over, but.
So what is
The
the, what is,
214, 250, Robert, I can't remember what that represented. Was that less the 25,000 that we had budgeted in the current fiscal year?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So if we don't get all that spent by June 30th, then that number could be higher, but I don't know the timeline on the plan update. A year
Thank you.
or whatever.
Robert, what's your estimate on the total cost for the comprehensive plan update? For the county side and then the total cost for it all together, the city and county together?
So the comprehensive plan, bear with me. I'm looking at the agreement, the signed contract right now. So the comprehensive plan total cost is $298,500. The zoning update is $205,000. The planning commission is committed $25,000, and then the remaining will be split evenly between the city and the county.
And is all of that reflected in the that budget line, comprehensive plan update, the total cost, Robert?
Yes. Yes, minus the 25 we had previously budgeted. That's why the treasurer mentioned that this line could go up in the future, depending on how much work gets done prior to July 1st.
Do you anticipate all of the monies that are budgeted to be used and spent in the 23 budget? Or since it is going to take longer than 1 year to do this, will there be more monies spent 2 years from now than next year?
Yes, sir, I do anticipate that. Let's see here. The zoning update will take 17 months. The comprehensive plan update will take 15 months. So it's likely in fiscal year 2024, there'll be funds needed for I believe the zoning rewrite of the contract.
Okay. All right. Squire Sebastian, that answer your question?
it does.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Any other
Doing some math.
questions? Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Robert. Thanks your staff for the great work.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Colston. Let's
Hello,
talk
Court.
about maintenance.
I'll wait for you, Susan. We'll start with 5080. 175 is a 2% COLA. 177 is a 2% too. 411 stays the same. 481 stays the same. 571 the same. Susan, you want to speak on the 573 or somebody?
Telephones,
Telephone.
Oh, that's
does Andrew need to speak to that? I don't, it's going up $1,000.
data. It's not just phones. It's listed as data and phones. Kim,
Yes, I decreased the telephone line by $1,000. It looks like we're using less,
It's
so I just decreased it.
It's an increase, isn't it?
Kim, you're showing.
Oh, I'm
an
sorry,
increase.
increase. I was looking at the wrong line. And that is due to some of new cell phones that was purchased for the county employees. That's one main reason.
Have the plans gone up? No.
So then why would they?
No, the plans didn't go up. We just added 2 new phones to the plan.
Okay.
And they're around about $30 to $50 a month.
Okay.
So who did we have phones for? Jeremy
I guess
Fiscal?
they're the 2 inspectors, right?
No.
But
this
those
is
being
508.
right. Yeah, those being right.
Who are the 2 new employees, Kim?
Chris got one,
Okay, he's
and then we
not
have a spare
under
phone for the county office.
Kim,
Yes,
this is the 5080 line, the maintenance line.
None of my
no,
guys.
the telephone.
Right, we're not talking about the judge's line, the office lines. It's the 5080 under Jeremy.
573.
Yes. So is he under that line?
Yes.
So that encompasses more than the maintenance department.
Yes, none of my guys have got an extra phone or anything.
All the county judge's office employees' telephones goes to the 5080-573.
Right. We don't have a telephone line under the 5086, which is the judge's office.
Correct.
Okay.
What,
So
That's-
why.
why would we not to reflect where the phones reside?
This is an old issue, so Susan probably need to speak on it. Susan, why do we not have a telephone line under the 5086?
well, all of the cell phones are charged to one line item. I think it had to do with some billing issues at some point in time, that it was hard to break out the, however many, how many phones do we have? I don't know how many we have.
It includes more than cell phones as well.
Yeah, it's county, there's a lot of countywide phone service that's lumped into this line. And again, it does go back a ways for the billing and services that were mixed in with some of the plant board bills from old landlines, et cetera. And then when we migrated to cell phones and we haven't gone to a system of departmentalizing the cell phone expenses. So the planning and zoning does not have a cell phone expense book to it. They're all of them are lumped into one account. So that is something at some point it could be figured out, maybe what to budget for, and when you nail down how many you're going to have. And but it's just been the transition to cell phones and data use that's led to that.
Are the magistrates that have phones, are they in this same?
Yes, they are.
item then? Okay, that's what I figured.
Okay.
578 looks like it's gone down 2,000 for utilities.
Kim, while we have you on the phone, excuse me, Jeremy, while we have you on the phone, have you been working with ESG to get this utility savings to a point where we'll know what we're doing here. We'll have some better ideas as we budget this.
It has been a while since I talked to Teresa and Ryan regarding that. I have a spreadsheet going on what they recommend me to log. I've been keeping that up daily every month. For
Are you
all of the
seeing
utilities.
are you seeing decreases in the cost since,
Yes,
March, since March, maybe February?
Yes, I have,
Good to hear.
Kim,
especially in the usage.
Good. Go ahead, Shay.
Kim, thank you for being on. Thank you, Judge. How, you had said that you are getting information from the contracted firm as to what to book. How does that work? Because I've been curious as to how we know we are seeing progress as a county through the energy savings project. I mean, did they give you a figure and we just plop that in there based on, I mean, is there supporting evidence with it? That says that this is the real and true figure, or is it like an estimated figure that they give, or do we know how they arrive at that? Or it would be helpful just for me to understand.
That's fine. I have a spreadsheet with like the usage, the price per water gallon, gas charge. I have that all separated for each invoice I receive. And I have it all broken down to like a fuel adjustment, environmental surcharge, research and development factor, just all different stuff that's on each of the utilities bills. And I have it all separated.
So when you're saying that that's on the utility bill, so I'm going to make up fictitious gas company XYZ sends a bill into us for 321 West Main. Okay.
Mhm.
And then are you saying that when that invoice arrives for us to pay, there are 20 line items that say fuel credit X? The next one says, I mean, is that the invoice that you're saying is broken down?
Yes.
So
I have it
like,
broken down just like you personally receive your own electric bill or gas bill. By
right?
each line item, I have it broken down onto a spreadsheet.
Okay. And then what you're doing to demonstrate savings, or what someone is doing to demonstrate savings, they would have like prior year bills for XYZ month for December, and then we could see potentially, and we would certainly have to be aware of factors like the change in the
Usage.
yeah, there has to be some way to balance it out. Whether the watts have increased or the watts have decreased, or, and we have to be cognizant, I guess, if it was a really cold, snap that it caused us to use more, because I think everybody wants to be equitable across the board and see how this is beneficial. Is that right?
Yes. The only thing I don't have in my spreadsheet is the average temperature for every month. But I do have the date range of when the bill was generated. If you would like to see the average temperature, I can put that in there.
Okay. Squire Moore is mumbling under his breath and he says yes. Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think just to follow up, and Robert, you're familiar with the contract as well, that there is a provision for at the end of the project, which will be, I guess, seeing that within a month, that there will be a measurement. There's a measurement and verification process that they go through, that we have contracted services with them for about, I think it's $10,000 more dollars.
Yes, you are
Yeah.
correct. They will perform measurement and verification until such time the fiscal court decides that they're satisfied and no longer request that service. And back to what Squire Sebastian was mentioning, ESG, the contractor, did an analysis of all the county bills for the entire calendar year of 2019. as their baseline. And then, work began and these performance measures have come in staggered. For instance, they would do the water at the jail, and then 3 months later, they would do the water downtown. So, it's not, we don't see it all at once. Once the project is complete and all measures have been installed, then that's when the measurement and verification will occur, and then they will base that off the baseline of 2019.
So did I understand, and maybe I misunderstood this? Did you say, Mr. Planning Director, that they being the contracted firm, they would, for an additional fee, monitor how we are working in comparison, or is that something that is built into the agreement? And I just want to make sure I heard it right. That's all.
It's currently,
It's an addition.
but it's in the agreement, but there is an additional fee for every year that we choose to do it.
And so if we have the parameters that they will be using for the calculations, could we not put that into some Excel spreadsheet some way and perform the calculations on our own without the ongoing expense and umbilical cord to the contracted firm?
That is possible. However, if the court chooses to cancel the measurement and verification, if for some reason the county does not receive the utility reductions as identified in the contract, then the consultant does not have to pay us. Okay. So,
No, and I appreciate that, which was leading me to that very question. So you've answered it ahead of time. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Squire Tracy, did I see your hand up a second ago?
You did. Susan answered my question. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Can I ask one more
Sure.
question on top of the information that the planning director just gave us? So do we have some kind of forecasted amount of time, say a period of 3 years or a period of 5 years or a period of 7 years? And I just don't recall this nuance of the original contract as to when we should balance everything out to get our savings back. Is that over a 3-year period, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? There had to be some projection, and I just can't recall that amount of time off the top of my head right
Yeah,
now.
well, I think it's over the term of the bond. I think it's more than 3 to 10 years, because it's
Yeah, I'm just
it's
asking. I can't
100 plus
remember.
thousand a year. It's 4 million. So you figure that.
I'll be dead.
Squire Blackburn, you were on the committee. What weren't you?
I just don't remember the nuance. I don't remember
18
that
to
detail.
20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't remember the detail of it. Thank you. I couldn't command that fact right away. I know I have it written down somewhere. I just couldn't remember.
Well, another factor, just since we're talking about this, and I don't know all the ins and outs of it, again, maybe the committee members have a better idea, but a big part of the savings is supposed to be in what they call capital savings or operational costs. So predicting that and reflecting it in the budget is really not happening right now to a great extent, except for at the jail. And Jailer Bonta incorporated, I think, those some measure of maintenance savings in his budget, but we don't really have good numbers yet to do that. And I think any of the other line items other than the jail.
So from what I'm trying to piece together in a straight line rather than a dotted line, it sounds like we will need some sort of arrangement for the next 20 years with the contracted firm and or whoever they assign it to ensure that we are receiving the. Is that right? I mean,
no, I don't think that's
I just
correct.
want to make sure I understood it, because
I think Wade and JW and Scotty
okay.
were on, the way I understood it is that you work, there's a certain few years, the first 2 or 3 years, up to 5, would be your baseline years. And if you saw that every year, then you could go on and continue to do them updating, but I wouldn't. It was definitely at a point where I don't think it's necessary. If every year I'm seeing at least $100,000 in savings, there's a certain point where you say, okay, I think we can, as you called it, the umbilical cord and move on.
Okay.
And did you not understand it that way, JW?
Yes, sir. Yeah, once they're monitoring and verification, it's our guarantee that if they don't meet the standards that they said they would, that they would pay that difference. And if we see a consistent, if those monitorings and verifications are consistent over several years, then we wouldn't have the need to have them to continue to do that. Because also we would understand, those, how that worked, especially at the jail when you have, folks that look at how the boilers run and how the air runs, how all that stuff runs. They can see those changes and address them immediately. Whereas little things like our electric bill at, say, at where the fiscal court is with the lighting measures that we did, they might not be as pronounced and won't see them as much, but I think it'll set a average benchmark for us to look at moving forward. And we won't have to have them verify for the next 20 years. I think we could, once we do it for several years, we'll see that average in that range. And if it doesn't have too big of a variation, then I don't see the need to keep them doing the verification process.
And there comes a point, there was also discussion there, what we're looking at and expecting consistently for the term would be the cost of the utilities. As part of that, what Susan said, there's another piece of a cost that is in the maintenance of the HVA systems and all of that. So we're seeing a higher rate up to a certain point. As the gets older, then that starts to go down.
I was going to ask that very thing because at some point you're going to have diminishing returns as it gets older, and then I don't know what the responsibility is of the firm at that point, because you've reached your peak and your pinnacle, and now you're on the downhill side
on the HVAC.
Yep, that's right. As well as whatever the roofing materials, because I'm sure they have a shelf life and those kind of things. So you all are exactly where I'm stepping that out. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Questions? All right. Jeremy, you got anything else?
Yeah. Susan, can you share your screen, please?
Sorry, Jeremy.
We'll go to 5081. 177 is a 2% COLA. The janitorial contract stays the same. I'll have to skip 331 unless somebody wants to speak on that one.
Wasn't that in the agreement with Counselor Sparks?
Yeah.
We just
Susan, how
covered
come
that
the
court meetings.
rent went down? I saw.
They
We got
recalculated.
a revised
We got a
agreement.
new contract that was all.
Counselor Sparks
Yeah.
brought that to us 3 weeks ago.
398 stays the same. 411's the same. Insurance, if somebody wants to speak on that.
Susan probably has been in contact with Keiko.
Okay.
Yeah, we've received estimates from our property and liability. So that's reflected in that figure.
569, 571, those remain. We'll go down to 5085. It remains the same, 571, and then 578 remains the same.
Jeremy, you're not reflecting any savings in utilities?
No, those
Yeah.
buildings, that's more, I don't know all the buildings, but they're, say one example is the pump house out on Hoover Road for the fire pump system for all the factories. It's not, I'm not sure of everything that's on that line.
You mean in 5085, the 5086?
5085, I'm sorry,
Right,
578.
5085, right?
Yes. I know one of the buildings is our pump house out Hoover Road. It's got a great big electric pump in it that supplies water pressure to all the factory sprinkler systems. So it stays the same. And we'll go down to 5086 and 571, it remains the same, and the same for 578. But no, it's down 500, I'm sorry.
Jeremy, y'all not doing any training?
We had some training scheduled, but the COVID took it away. And plus then we had a couple of other ones that I had to pull my guys from it because we had some things come up that, they just had to miss it. So
You're not gonna do any training, though, it says zero.
Adam's still looking, trying to find some classes that he can get into, but you have to schedule them so far ahead to get in. But we had some scheduled, like I said, and something breaks down, unfortunately we have to skip some things and just come on in to work.
If you find some that you're needed, that are needed, let us know, Jeremy, okay?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I think that's important. Squire Muller?
Thank you, Judge. Hey, Jeremy, thanks for being on today. Looking at all the salaries you were just talking about, you said you did a 2% COLA on everything?
And I'm sorry, 2% overtime too.
And
Could you
also,
explain that? Because everything I looked at is a whole lot more than 2% on the salaries and things. So could you maybe explain how you came up with these numbers, please?
Yeah. Well, we haven't had a compensation meeting. That's tomorrow. So the compensation meeting, it was with staff, we discussed how do we bring the salaries, the deficiency in what our pay is with the Johansson Group, with it being discussed. I think Rick touched on it. I am putting in the budget for discussion a 3% compression, a salary adjustment for bringing the salaries up to bring the salaries up from the deficiency that we have seen based on the Johansson Group. In other words, trying to adjust the salaries to a point of so we don't have to go in line by line. I'm asking for an additional 3% salary adjustment increase.
Okay, I guess where I'm confused is Jeremy said this was just based on 2%. So now you're saying that everyone's been told to go ahead and figure the Johansson numbers in, even though we haven't had our compensation study meeting.
We did that. I think Susan did that in-house. Isn't that correct, Susan?
Jeremy submitted numbers that all of the staff submitted numbers with a 2% cost of living increase. And then per the judge, there's a provision for a 3% comp plan adjustment in the various line items and that's being represented in the budget proposal that is out right now. That's what is represented in the budget.
3%. Are you saying 3% in here, not 2 for everybody?
I'm saying it's a 2 and a 3.
Yeah, it's 5%, Sherry. That's what I'm saying. I
But
thought we were
is it-
gonna wait and talk in the meeting tomorrow.
Is this
But it
money
looks
just
like-
gonna sit there till we make a decision on that?
Susan, are those numbers?
Yeah, because we have to present tonight, we have to present a budget. We have to do that by May 1st. This, I mean, you can take it out, it's very easily take it out, but we have, because tomorrow is when the compensation committee meets, and today we have to approve the budget, then by May 1st, the timeline, I put it in there. You may put it out.
But what I'm asking, Judge, is the money gonna be locked in there until we, as a court, agree to put it where it needs to be?
Yeah, so when the budget is adopted, there also will be the agenda abstract, like just for the 2% COLA. That, even though that's included in the budget, it still has to have that statement in there
Right.
so that it's approved. So any salary increases still have to have fiscal court approval regardless where, if they're in here or not.
That's the way I'm reading their concerns is it's not a 5% raise, it's 2% raise. And the 3% is sitting there.
Well, the 2% has to be approved too.
Yeah.
Both of them have to be approved. A 2% cost of living, the other one's a 3% salary adjustment based on the comprehensive plan. Compensation plan, sorry, comprehensive.
Just because you budget it doesn't mean it's
I know.
automatic approval.
I know, I was here when we changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were the one that recommended change. Okay,
That's why I got it wrong.
Squire Black, sorry.
Yes. Susan, were other departments told that as well, the 3% and the 2%? Like the coroner and others?
Yes, I mean, we haven't discussed it yet, but when we were in the planning and zoning section, there's a provision for the comp plan adjustment and all their line items. And I discussed it with the county attorney and the coroner that the judge was recommending, of course, a 2% CPI and then a provision for a 3% comp plan adjustment to have available in the budget when and if the comp plan is approved and implemented by fiscal court. And then those offices, mostly, they either adopt or don't adopt as elected officials provisions of fiscal court plans, as well as the constraints on the coroner for term salaries and making those adjustments to his people himself. So yes, it has been discussed. I don't know that it's been announced to all of the supervisors because this was placed in after they made their request. Does that answer your question?
I think Will Harrod has a question.
Thank you. Susan, you and I talked this morning on the telephone. From my understanding, what you told me was to put 2% in, and that's basically what our numbers reflect is 2%. You mentioned something about the proposal for 3% that the judge was going to put in later for the comp study, but we were not told to put that in the numbers for today. As I've reviewed other numbers, it appears that some other people even have more than 5%. I'm seeing 8%. I'm seeing some raises at 20%. This is why on the worksheet at the bottom that we submitted, that it states our numbers do not reflect anything with respect to the comp study, because it's my understanding we're having a comp study meeting either tomorrow, next week, something to that nature. And I don't see how you can implement anything if things have not been communicated solely across the whole county government for a comp study increase. So to be frank and upfront, My numbers reflect 2% cost increase only. They do not have anything to do with comp study. I don't know, that was not communicated to our agency to implement those figures.
Susan, may I ask, were my salaries changed from the other email? Is that where the problem's coming from?
Well, first of all, many of these line items also included a provision for overtime. So doing your flat percentages is going to be messy because of some of the overtime provisions that are in there. But I mean, on the spreadsheet, as far as let's see, for like this line, this is a good one. So the 3,100 is in this field is for the comp plan. And then the figure that was represented for the.
The numbers were wrong, Susan. The email that you sent, the corrections, I don't think you don't have in the spreadsheet.
Okay, so you had.
I believe that's what the issue is.
Oh, the maintenance. Oh, the maintenance.
Even the 5080.
Okay,
177 should be
Okay.
82.
yeah, okay, this initial number here
Yes, that should be 82.
that you provided was wrong. Okay, so, yeah, this one is supposed to be. with
82.
comp, 84,408, I think is what is calculated at with 20, is that the right 2,400? Yeah. 84,408.
Still working with Jeremy.
Jeremy, with your current, based on your current salaries, plus 2%.
Yeah, mine was
And the
20.
2,400, and if there's a $2,400 comp plan, yeah, that figure, we discussed that a little early, 84,408 was the corrected amount.
So Susan, did you have a conversation with the coroner this morning and told him about?
Yes, I did.
3% would work.
Well, what I was trying to explain is that the coroner's office is a little different because it's based on term salaries. So, and that's not implemented until mid-year. So and once again, those salaries can be adjusted, I think, after January 1 for those officers. And in addition, there's a vacancy right now in the office. So ultimately, how much gets budgeted and how much you still have to spend, there's some fluctuation there and what's going to be the actual versus what the budget is. And what the coroner is budgeting is based on the current budget, which will not be spent. So it's not a zero base. It's taken 2% on top of the current budget, which is fine. But I don't know what the comp plan said about the coroner's office. I really don't know about most of the offices. I know that these numbers were provided as a flat amount calculation from the comp plan, as I guess what the minimum was for the county offices for discrepancies. And I did reflect that in the coroner's clerk line. And I thought we mentioned that. I mentioned that on the phone, that it was a 2 and a 3. But if there are changes that the coroner wants to make for his new deputies come January 1st, and based on if the plan is advanced by court and if the elected officials also adopt the plan and want to incorporate that, I'm sure there can be a budget provision for that.
Okay. Scar Blackburn?
So I'm a little confused. So the coroner's asking for 2. Maintenance is asking for 5. The jail's asking for 8. You say the compensation committee is meeting tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay, hopefully they can help straighten that out before it comes back to us again, because what I have here in front of me and what we're talking about, and a lot of things are 2 different things. And a lot of these numbers aren't wrong, and we're having to correct them on the fly as we go. So I'm just gonna bear in there and try to figure it out, but thank you.
Betty, the jail is not included in part of this because they're already asking for more than their budget already has reflected raises for their employees that are to bring them up even higher, aren't they, Betty?
Yes, and I think I can clarify something. Yes, that is correct. The jail is asking for the 6.7% as the comp plan. They're different. Every percentage is different, you guys, in each department. So that's what you're hearing. Just like the attorney's office, the county attorney's office, it was -4% behind market. The coroner's office was -13. I believe Andrew's got a slide on this, but based upon the comp study, the percentages will be different. Okay, so that's I want to explain that. And also in the budget, there was 2% put in for all of our departments under the county judge. Some had 2 to 3% overtime, like the road department, the maintenance is 2. I believe there's a different, and Susan can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe there was a different under the county judges. He's asking for a 3% overall of the comp plan, and that was going to be added in after we have the comp meeting tomorrow. Does that help? Does that help explain this?
Well, I think Will's got his hand up.
Yes. Can you put that slide back up, please, Betty Jo?
Andrew?
Please. I think I mentioned this last time, with respect to everybody there, with the coroner's office, it was the findings were the deputies were 13% below. The coroner's deputy clerk was almost 50% below, 55 and somewhere in that neighborhood. But I guess the question is, was the state's figures, have we ever figured out whether the state, the city, nor the plant board's numbers have figured into these findings that you're showing here? Or were they dismissed?
The state was not. Frankfurt Plant Board and the city was.
Okay.
And I will resend you that chart, Will, that the Johansson Group sent to you. I'll resend that to you. You got a copy of that?
I do.
Of the agencies. But I'll resend that to you, okay? But again, the state was not, but the city and the Frankfurt Plant Board was.
Okay. Can this be readjusted, the -13%, because that doesn't equal out with the below 55%?
I'm not for sure what you're referring to on the 55. This was for the deputies and the administrative assistant in your office. This did not include the coroner because it's an elected official position.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. The coroner's position I wasn't concerned about. I'm talking about the deputies were -13. The admin position or the part-time admin position was -55. So do they take both of those figures and you're saying they equal out or average to -13?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. That's all I want to ask. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Squire Tracy, I know he
Who's Tracy, Squire Tracy?
I can wait.
Sorry. I'm not seeing Squire Tracy, so I didn't mean to
A
miss
couple
it.
questions, and I don't know if it goes to Betty Jo or if it goes to Susan. Obviously, the fire department has presented theirs. Did they ask for the 9.8 that it shows that they're reflecting that their the variance? Did they ask for that?
The judge has asked that the budget that is presented for today's meeting include a provision, and when we get back to the screen, you can see a whole column that has elected officials changes. And all it has in it are the comp plan, well, the majority of what's in that are the comp plan study adjustments. And that does include the fire. So that has been input into the budget request or the budget proposal since the fire presented. I think the fire's adjustment was around maybe $71,000, I believe is what that amounted to. So all of the affected departments have had it, and the road as well. The road has already presented. So since then, that some factor for this elected officials changes position for the comp plan has been added to their payroll budgets.
So again, is that the 3% that's been
Yes,
talked about, or is that the
yes,
9.8 variance?
It's 3%. So, and I specifically put it in a separate section so that it could show up easily as a proposed, budget placement. And it's certainly the plan has not been adopted or approved, but the money could be available if and when it is approved, either with the budget, or with July 1 or January 1 or August 1, whatever date that you chose. And again, until there's some sort of, resolution or agreement to implement the raises or, the comp study, then none of that money would be spent, or it's intended, I guess, to get to show a placeholder of how much it might cost.
Right. Well, and obviously you understand what I'm asking when I say we've had several presenters before today, and the 3%
this was added just a few days ago.
Just a few days ago. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And then my next question for Betty Jo. Betty Jo, can you send me or send us a breakdown of the road department pay study by itself? It looks like everybody's broke out, maybe with the exception of the road department. So can you send us that study?
They don't have a separate comp plan. They're part of the pay grade of the county judge, the part. It's that one sheet. I'll send it to you, but the comp plan is all of them. That's the road department, the part, the county judge's staff, planning and zoning. It's anybody under the judge's authority.
Is the fire department not under the judge's authority?
They have a separate pay plan. They have a SOP.
Okay. Just asking. Okay. So the road department themselves did not have a study done per se.
No,
individually.
that's incorrect. The road department did have a study done. They are part of the county judge's office. That is a whole. Andrew, will you bring up that slide for me?
So what I'm asking, Betty Jo, what I'm asking is, can you send me the information on the road department that was gathered? Just the road department. I'd just like to see a breakdown of the road department.
Andrew, the other slide. The road department don't have a separate comp plan.
Okay, which slide do you need, Betty Jo?
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. I think it's on page 12 or 13. Right. Keep going. There's that right there. There you go. Thank you. Go up. Go up. I'm looking for that. Go, Eric. Keep going up. I want to show him the title, but I'll be happy to send this to you.
I've got that. I've got that here. I've got it.
That's pay grade. They're part of our pay grade.
Okay. I'm just trying to find out so I'm looking at 5% here across the board. So I'm trying to figure out myself where, as the road department employees, where would they fit into that 5%? Is the road department at 4.5% variance?
No, they're part of, okay, let me explain this again. The elected officials, like the jail and the sheriff, they're not part of the structure you see right here, okay? The pay grade, they're not part of that structure. The fire's got their separate comp plan. The jail's got their separate comp plan. The sheriff's office has their separate comp plan, and the clerk has their separate comp plan. All under the judge's authority has the pay grade here. And they're based upon like FC 121, 120. It's based on the job valuing range.
The fire is separate though, Betty. They have their.
The fire's also
comp-
separate.
They have a different comp plan.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Did that help?
Yeah, I really wanted to see where because we've heard forever how bad this group is, or that group is, or this group isn't. And when we started, I asked multiple times in regards to employees going to be participating in this and da 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 da, not being able to see a breakdown of each department. It's tough. You know what I mean?
I understand you on, and it's real, it is. And this is the breakdown, because you'll see the road foreman on there, the mowing crew supervisor, mechanic. This is the breakdown. And when you see the mid there and the road department is in with this.
Okay, I think I saw Squire Butler's hand up.
Thank you, Judge. I mean, I think ultimately we all want what's best for our county employees. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with that. I look forward to the meeting we're going to have tomorrow to talk about this. It's one of our biggest topics. I guess if I could ask Susan, while we have her on here, let's say hypothetically we were to go with Johansson's group, full recommendations. What does that number look like at the end of the day? Because ultimately we have to figure out how to pay for it.
I don't know. I don't know the full recommendations. I know the HR has been intricately involved with this, and the committee's been intricately involved with this, but I have not. But the provision we have in this budget proposal shows 3%. It was my understanding that was basically the low bar, the least common denominator. So that's why it became a 3%. And as Betty Jo has pointed out or made comments that it's, for some, it's a lot more, and for others, it's not. I mean, obviously the coroner's office has a really large discrepancy. So some of them are very large, and others are maybe right at the 3%. So this this shows a get started point. I think for this, the 3% amounted to, I want to say $163,000 is what, around that amount for that, including the fire and the road and, the
Sheriffs
fiscal
and
court
clerks.
fund.
Does that include sheriffs and clerks too, Susan?
160? No, that doesn't, I don't know.
What would it cost overall?
Like I said, I do not know overall. I'm just talking about the 3%.
Okay, thank you, Susan. I just know as a committee member, we've only met once on this issue, and I think this is going to be a tough thing to figure out. So I look forward to our meeting tomorrow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Remember, this is to help our employees that clearly came in way under the average.
I don't think anyone said it wasn't, Judge.
Squire Sebastian.
Thank you, Judge. I wanted to ask the treasurer, I saw it appeared on some of the spreadsheets, it looks like that some cells were hidden from view, obviously. And there was some language in there that said this line item includes XYZ. Will we have the ability to see all of that text at some point?
It's a big spreadsheet. It's a really big spreadsheet.
I'm into the detail on that.
When I sent out the draft for May to meet our statutory obligation, I tried to keep it as simple as possible. But yes, we do have comments in a lot of the fields, and I know planning and zoning had comments in their fields and narrative, but getting that in which other columns do you want to see? I mean, you could just do the comments, I guess, and line items, a version there.
Yeah, you know, I want to see the budget
Yeah.
narrative.
Yeah, well,
You know that.
You'd love this program. Need to get you access.
I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? All right, looks like we're gonna get to move on. The park. Charlie Lewis.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing this on my phone. My computer's been in and out. I apologize. And not sure if you can tell by my voice. I apologize if my voice is a little off. I've got this Kentucky crud I'm dealing with here pretty heavily. So, but I'll be happy to answer any questions, and starting with the beginning and running through it. So, I'm not, all I know is to say I put 2% in on my salary. So, and that was
Right,
for the.
It's
Go ahead.
showing up here almost at 10%, Charlie. So
That might, well, that,
Well, once again,
I-
just, not to talk over you, Charlie, but the all of the staff submitted the 2% CPI, and then the judge, in conjunction with the comp plan, just a provision to try to show how much that cost might be. I have put in an additional amount on the salary lines that shows the comp plan. So the proposal that you did receive in your packet does incorporate and include that additional 3% on many line items. Now, where this one, I have a comment says comp plan with men, that the compensation plan with a minimum, there was evidently, and Betty Jo has more details about this, there were several positions that weren't even at the minimum. So it was, there was another bump that was put in there, if I'm stating that correctly, in order to, and the park was one of those that was reflected in the compensation plan study. So, but go ahead, Charlie, with your budget.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess on the seasonal co-op, I did request, my original request was 5,000, and I think it got bumped to the other 650, so it went up 5,650.
Why did you do that? Now, what did you, Charlie, you raised the minimum salary, which was $7.80 to $10. Did you do that?
Yeah, we did. And talking with, going back to this comp study, and then of course dealing with the environment that we're in for hiring, which we're still looking for people at the golf shop. We've got some summer help coming, but that's still a month or so off, but for the park. But the students, we moved to $8 starting, and then the men and women, older, retired, that were not students, that were looking for part-time or seasonal, we moved those to 10 to start. Okay. And just holler at me. I got my little screen here. It's hard to see if I need to stop, but petroleum products, that's showing going from 15 to 18. I did want to keep in mind, we discussed all this in our park committee already. And we talked about moving that to 16.5. Just because one of the things that's going to help us to offset the fuel would be that we went to the electric gas carts for the golf course. So that was good timing there. But in looking at our numbers, we haven't had to fill the carts up for this half of the golf season. We did the last half of last year. We've only got $1,000 left in petroleum. So, the 18 is probably a good number there moving forward. training. We have had some small expenditures come out of there that I don't see showing up on here, but I am now able to attend the KRPS, Kentucky Park and Rec Society organization, which is great. It's already been very helpful, especially in talking about this master plan and, excuse me, visiting some of these facilities, the indoor facilities. So lots of good information there being a member, but they also have their conferences and stuff that I would like to attend. It's not until November, but I would like to take some money out of that in this fiscal year, because if you pay early, you get a discount. So there'll be some more expenditures there. And then
And Charlie, Tracy has a question.
Okay.
Thanks. Charlie, you referenced that you'd already went over this with the park committee. Other than salaries, has anything else changed?
Let's see. No, other than salaries. No changes. No changes. The only thing that's been tossed around, and I'm sure it's a whole different pot of money, is the ARPA money to do those bigger projects. That doesn't reflect it on any of the park or golf line items. So that just wanted to, I don't see any.
What about maintenance?
Okay. And then what about in regards, you referenced high school students and your older employees. What about college students? Where do you have those guys line, or if you have guys and gals there, where do you have them?
I don't think we got any this year, Squire.
Okay. Okay.
We have in the past, but I haven't heard from. I was hoping some of the guys would return, but they've gone to greener pastures, I guess.
Okay.
Was there another question?
I have one.
Sorry about that. From it, I don't even see it.
It's okay. Thank you, Judge. Mr. Park Director, I'm looking at the maintenance line item here, and not being on the park committee, I haven't been privy to the bump here, the 7,000, the information that you've used and discussed at the park committee about the $7,000 bump in maintenance. Can you just share with the rest of us what that is?
Sure. Yeah.
We don't have the budget comments and the narrative to review.
Yeah. The maintenance really on both park and golf, up 7, up 5. That's just because of inflation and the cost of materials, just overall in general, because as of today, we spent 80% of our park budget through last fiscal court, and 105% through last fiscal court of our golf maintenance. So we'll have to rob Peter to pay Paul within our budget to cover some of these things, like we always do. But of course, we try to keep, we use numbers within the whole overall budget, park and golf, to stay within the grand scheme of the budget for the annual year. So, we'll need to move some money around, some transfers coming down the stretch.
Okay, and that's like stuff like fertilizer and that kind of stuff. Is that what?
Yeah, fertilizer, toilet paper, cleaning supplies.
One and the same.
Yeah, you name it. It's in there, and it's all gone up.
What equipment are you looking?
Yeah.
To buy? You got 12,000 and 20,000.
The 20, let's see, it's the park on the 12. We're not buying that mower this year. So we're hoping to buy a mower next year. The 20 in the golf, that's $5,000. That's a $5,000 increase. That is a lease that we talked a little bit about in the park committee. That's leasing a piece of equipment for the amount of about $15,000 of that over a 5-year lease. That's a rough mower. It's a big piece of mower. that we use on the golf course. The one that we have is really starting to nickel and dime us. That's 10 years old roughly. So that's just making an improvement there for that piece of equipment on the golf course. And then like that lease is around 15 and change. So the extra 5 is just for some signage on the park, on our tees and greens and driving range and stuff like that. Just small equipment.
All right, any other questions? Squire Muller?
Thank you, Judge. Not a question, but just want to let everybody know that that lease that Charlie's talking about, I believe, is a 5-year lease. Is that right, Charlie?
Yes, sir. 5-year lease, $1 buyout.
Okay, so I just want to let everybody know we're going to be seeing that if this gets approved for, every year for the next 5 years. Thank you.
Sure gonna be saving on gas though. Good move, Charlie, going electric. Hopefully.
Yeah, that turned out to be pretty good timing.
Yeah, yeah. All right, anybody else? Okay. All right, thank you, Charlie.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go now to special agencies. And if you get your sheets out. And get the sheet out on that.
Andrew, do you have that one?
Yeah, I'm looking through my documents here.
Here it is, right here. Hang on. It'll take us a second to get these. I got it, Tamara. I got it. Ann, are you on? There you are, Ann. Thank you. And you've got a narrative with everything. So as we definitely, when we come to a new one, we'll ask you to mention what the new one, a bit what it pertains.
All right, let me just say ahead of time.
Hang on,
that,
hang on. Not everybody's in here. We're not ready to get started.
Oh,
Hold on a
okay.
second. So the first one, the first new one would be the Capital City Museum. The other one would be Wanda Joyce Robinson, and then Yes Arts. I have 3 new ones on my agenda.
the Imagination Library is another one.
Imagination. Oh, I see it. That's it. I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
KCDC, that's a new one.
No, that's been moved into, been put in with the other agencies, but that's KCDC is the Economic Development Authority. That's not a different agency. Let me just say ahead of time, because there are a couple of agencies that haven't traditionally asked for increases that have this year, for example, the Senior Center. And they really wanted me to express that how much inflation is having an impact on their ability to provide, for example, the meals to the seniors, and they don't want to have to put anybody on a waiting list. So I promised them that I would explain that that was the reason for their increase this year.
All right. Well, when we get to that line, will you explain that again?
Sure.
Lambert's not here. We're waiting on
Okay.
him to come back. Then we'll get started.
And quick question.
Yes.
The information that you had sent out in regards to requirements to be able to ask for money. Is that information, is it going to be made available to us?
It can be made available to you. That information includes like tax returns, their board members, the schedule of their board meetings. I double check that every agency is in good standing with the Secretary of State. So any of those that you want to see, I can provide. Yes, there's a lot it's a lot that we go through just to make sure that they're eligible agencies.
Okay. And everyone that's listed has been checked off as.
They have. The only
requirements.
agency that's not on this list and not part of this report is what you discussed at the last fiscal court meeting, the Fair Board, that would become part of this list in future years. But I had already completed the list, but I have requested that they send me the same information. I have not received it yet.
Okay.
But everyone else has provided that.
Okay. All right, Squire Moore's here. If you would begin and access Frankfurt Incorporated Soup Kitchen Shelter.
Yes, Access Frankfurt, and I think everybody's familiar with most of these. Operation of the men's shelter and the soup kitchen. The funds to be used toward food and supplies, building maintenance, and to assist in funding their executive director and their other employees. They were having some difficulty keeping staff because what they were able to offer, people were being able to find better employment elsewhere. So they were having some trouble with staff. So that's why the increase in their request this year.
All right, they requested last year 13. Well, we gave them 13 and they're asking for 20. So the way we normally do this is we look for a squire to say up, down, same. So if
Well-
you'll speak up, then we'll know somebody's saying something. If not, hold your hand up. I prefer you to speak up because it's hard for me to see everybody. So we'll go with the squires. What's your choice? What's your thoughts on the soup kitchen? Same, less, more? Same for Squire Booth. Anybody else?
Let me ask this, Judge. Would it be better, maybe we could hear what our grants administrator has to say about each of the requests before because we're taking them one at a time like this without hearing some of the other information that she may have, since there are a number of new requests this time. I only bring it for that reason.
Well,
So
our
you-
time is limited and we've got 4 pages on each one of them. I don't know I don't know which one of them, but
I don't know.
I'll,
I'm just trying to figure out the way to do it.
I don't have an
just
easy way either.
And we are hard at 5, right?
If we're working, I'll extend it as long as we're working at it. But if we can't get even started to start working on it, that's gonna be a different story. If we think we can get done fairly quickly after 5. All right, Squire Moore, we've got the Squire Blackburn.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge. We've got a lot of numbers in our budget that really can't be nailed down or even close until this compensation meeting is tomorrow. I don't like raising or dropping numbers until I've got it all in front of me. So I'm really not ready to do this today because I don't have all my numbers.
Okay.
None of us do.
Okay.
You're talking about the social agencies or all of it?
He's talking about social agencies. That's all we're on right now, is social agencies. So is anybody else not wanting to deal with social agencies today? Squire Tracy?
No, I would agree. I mean, ultimately, we're gonna have to face it and go with it, but again, with numbers being all over the map, I filled up a paper chicken scratching. So if we can get clean copies of updated numbers, and Susan, if there's any possible way to show in that additional 5% that was handed out countywide.
Well,
That
as
would-
I said, I can expand the screen and you can see the initial request, and then you can see the incremental amount with the 3%. But as far
I
as
can pick
a
'em
bunch
up
of
if-
numbers have changed, the only ones that that's going to happen. I mean, for that matter, the amount that I had in the initial document, that you have today for outside agencies is the same as last year. It doesn't reflect any new requests. off the top of my head.
Right.
And then I didn't get the coroner's request until, late this afternoon. So I went ahead and incorporated it into the on-screen version to reflect that change, as well as the conversation with the county attorney today, and then found the issue and having a discussion with maintenance about one of their line items being wrong. So that was after the document went out. So I have those changes and I'm making note of those, and we'll definitely incorporate them. But as far as the 3% provision, I just felt like it would be better to wait until after y'all have your meeting and just have it as a talking point that, for now.
Okay.
And I don't know when we're going to have our next budget meeting, but certainly it will have all of the changes we discuss.
Thank you so much.
incorporated.
We'll talk about that in just a second, I guess. Okay. So there are two people that want us to delay the social agencies. Squire Muller, what do you want to do?
So, I mean, really for what needs to be turned in, I think Susan was saying that, as long as we turn something in, it doesn't have to be final, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with waiting.
yeah, it's not been final this time, right?
Yeah. So
Correct.
I'm fine with waiting. I really look forward to tomorrow's meeting. I mean, it's a big discussion to have, and I think, I'm fine with going ahead, and I'll meet as often as anybody wants to. So, just we'll go with that.
Okay, doke. Squire Booth, you okay to hold off?
Yes, that would be fine. I didn't mean, I wasn't saying put it off or not discuss it. I was just replying to JW's comments about the figures not being are being sort of iffy. And I was asking him if he meant the social agencies are the whole budget. That's what I was referring to. But it is fine with me to put off these social agencies. And
All right. Okay, and Squire Sebastian and Squire Moore say okay. So I'm looking at Wednesday, May the 4th, 3 o'clock. Thursday, May 5th, 3 o'clock. Squire Muller says he can meet anytime, so that suits you, Squire Muller? One of those dates?
Can you repeat them again, please?
Wednesday, May 4th, Thursday, May 5th, 3 o'clock. Either one of them.
Judge, can I ask so I know from whether I've got to do anything, is that going to be for the social agency discussion issue?
It will continue to be the budget issue. Social agency will be the first item up, but it will be continually the budget issue.
I'd rather do Wednesday than Thursday.
I can't do Thursday.
Okay.
Wednesday.
Wednesday?
I mean, it'll have to be.
Wednesday?
either one
If
is
that's
okay with me.
I can't
Okay,
do Thursday.
Wednesday, 3 o'clock. Wednesday, May 4th, 3 o'clock. Budget.
Darn it.
For how long?
3 to 5. 3 to 5. Hopefully. So let's look at it that way. And then we'll just continue discussing. Susan will have updated versions.
Oh,
right,
definitely,
Susan?
definitely. And Judge, if I may go ahead and report a couple of the updates on the revenue side.
Okay.
We'll
Love to
definitely-
hear that.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, those numbers are going to change too. So all of them, yeah, this is a moving target, guys, for sure. April 30th isn't here. So that is the deadline for the first quarter payroll returns. And so by mail, a lot of times people wait till the very end. We don't have all our big payroll companies in yet. So we'll have a lot of payroll dollars coming in the first of the week. So basically today's what, the 27th. I'll have an updated revenue, but that's going to change. But as of today, we did get our county road aid number. So that county road aid is going up by almost $98,000 because I had been instructed to use last year's numbers. So our initial proposed budget had the county road aid at 781,179. So I can now change that officially with the state number of 879,120. So there's another $98,000. So that's good news. Also, fiscal court had asked me to reach out to the PDA, which I did. And their numbers are preliminary, but as we all know and can recognize, we are seeing increases in property in our county, and the preliminary, this is preliminary recap. It's not been certified by the state, but does show pretty much 5% across the board increases in assessments. And based on preliminary calculations, that will more than meet our budget figure that's in the preliminary proposed budget document that you've received. So that's reassuring, since that's one of our largest, obviously one of our largest receipts. Insurance premium tax also will continue to come in, and we assign that one to the fire fund. So we hopefully will get better numbers to support the budget figures that we're using. The other area I'll mention, and this will also impact the budget that we're formulating right now, is the clerk's office. There's a new Senate Bill 135, I think is what it is. There's a whole lot of statewide discussion right now on how to administer that and how to practically, make it work based on the language of that document. Has to do with imaging, or let's see, storage and imaging, I think is what it is. Anyway, the clerk has mentioned it throughout in his budget in conversation, but now there's going to be some specific guidelines and involvement possibly of fiscal court. So we're trying to work through that between the clerks and the treasurers and Department for Local Government and administrative regulations. So it may be that we also show an amendment again of a pass-through, again, a different way of reporting, so that we report this pot of money through the clerk's office. It comes to fiscal court on a monthly basis, just like the way motor vehicle taxes or other taxes do. But then it might be upon fiscal court, the way I'm initially understanding it, to make those expenditures that the clerk contracts with. So where the clerk is collecting that fee, it's for a specific purpose. And then the clerk has a contract for services to use that for that specific purpose. And then it would become a fiscal court bill to pay from that pot of money. So we're sorting through that, may have a better understanding of that, and can incorporate that into our working document as well for the new fiscal year, which we're obliged to do.
Can an administrative fee be assessed for that?
That was discussed. I'm not sure of that. We discussed it in the Judges Association about administrative fees, since it's coming through the fiscal court.
Absolutely.
I don't know that answer though.
Okay.
Squire Blackburn.
Madam Treasurer, I have a question. On the transient room fee tax, is there any part of that? Is that a convention center tax?
The transient room tax on the county side is 3%, and that all goes to tourism. And there's a 2% for Fine Arts Center, and that all goes towards the Grand Theater bond. It's 100% pass through. The county doesn't retain any of that. Now, the city has an additional 1% that they collect for that convention center tax, and has collected for, well, I don't know how many, at least the 24 years I've been here. And they continue to collect it in the absence of a convention center. To my knowledge, they are still collecting that. And I'm not sure how much is in that in that account for that, of that one, for that 1%, for that purpose, or how it's being managed, because we don't handle it. It's collected at the city level for their hotels.
So that's a question for the commissioners and the mayor.
Yes, I presume, or.
Well, we do know
presume
that they're
it'd be
collecting it.
addressed.
I don't know what the question is. What's your question about it, JW? I don't know.
I didn't know if they'd suspended collection of it since we haven't had one in use since 2017, 18. And I was just curious. I've had people ask and I wondered myself, so.
I think they are collected. I think they still are collecting it, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Where are they collecting it from?
Hotels. It's a 1%, 1% tax on hotels.
Oh, hotels, okay.
So ours is, I think it's what, 13% total on for the room. But with this, once you put the state in there and the sales tax, so it's 13%.
Okay, anybody else? I need, we have to accept the receipt, not accept, excuse me.
I make a motion.
Receive the proposal, but wait a minute, I gotta call the. Thank you. They're gonna do.
They're
Okay.
calling the meeting.
All right, we're gonna call this the special budget meeting for April 26, 2022. Together, call the roll, please, clerk.
Squire Sebastian,
Here.
Squire Blackburn,
Present.
Squire Muller,
Present.
Squire Tracy,
Here.
Squire Booth,
You're muted, Squire Booth.
Sorry about that. Present.
thank you, Squire Moore,
Here.
Judge Wells,
Here, the item on the agenda is authorization to receive the proposed fiscal year 2022, 2023 budget. We're just receiving it. It definitely can be changed and will be changed, added to, subtracted from.
I'll make the motion. to receive
Motion
the
by
budget.
Squire Moore to receive,
Second.
seconded by Squire Muller. Call the roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
Squire Booth,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells,
Yes, is there authorization to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Squire Moore. Call the
Squire,
roll.
Squire Sebastian,
Yes.
Squire Blackburn,
Yes.
Squire Muller,
Yes.
Squire Tracy,
Yes.
okay, Squire Booth,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Judge Wells.
Yes, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Our next budget meeting will be on Wednesday, May 4th, 3 o'clock.